Well, this was surprising.
I just think it's terrible when the majority of the world is looking at this man and what he's doing in Gaza, and then also what he's overseeing in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, that we're welcoming into the so-called sacred halls of our government. This has been an ongoing struggle for people that just want to have dignity and be able to live independent lives and dream of a better future. And this man is the pinnacle of the obstacle toward that freedom, and that we have him visiting the country is obscene. It's a disgusting show of support for someone that doesn't deserve our support. I'm ashamed that my tax dollars are going to the brutalizing of an entire people. It's shameful, and I'm ashamed that our government is welcoming him here.
That was Dave Matthews. Yeah, the Dave Matthews Band guy, that was him. At a protest outside Washington's Union Station, as activists demanded the U.S. stop sending military aid to Israel. Matthews, by the way, is set to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame along with Ozzy Osbourne, Warren Buffett, Cher, and many others. Here's the thing. Dave has been vocal before.
The world in a lot of places is pretty upside down. And I just speak from my heart. I'm not trying to start a fight, but for the sake of humanity, we have to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza to end this horrific carnage, to end the starvation of children, to bring the hostages home. There must be a ceasefire now. I don't understand how we can condone this massacre. These are our children that are starving. These are our children that are being murdered. Please, everybody, let's pressure our leaders to not be in the pockets of anybody but the right. Please, thank you so much. I hope you all don't take offense, because I just love people and I love children, and we got to figure out a better way than war, because love is the only answer. Thank you very much, everybody.
I don't pretend to know everything, but I do know that to the bottom of my heart, war is never the answer, and what's happening in Gaza is just horrific. And what's happening in Sudan is just disgusting, and I don't understand it, because we all have children. We just need to realize that all of our children are the same. All of our children are just the same. And if we teach them how to dance, then the world will be a better place. But if we teach them how to kill each other, then the world will stay just the same way that it is. And I just don't make exceptions to my rule. Peace is always the answer. Love is always the answer.
And I appreciate him using his platform to do that, because it is the right message. It is the correct message. In a time when so many fear to do so, in a time when major brands will cancel people just for being Palestinian. I appreciate him doing this. The events in D.C., by the way, we covered on our network. They went as follows.
You are currently watching anti-war activists protesting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech before a joint session of Congress today. Now, there were members of Congress who also protested Bibi's visit.
Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. Many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the two babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murdered the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I thought it was important to include the round of applause that members of Congress engaged in and their staffers engaged in, as you have a foreign leader of a foreign country smearing Americans who are engaging in their First Amendment right to peacefully assemble and protest the war crimes that Netanyahu is committing in Gaza and the West Bank as we speak. The fact that illegal settlements continue to be built in the West Bank. I mean, the violations of international law.
So nearly 40,000 dead in Gaza now, almost the entire 2.3 million population displaced. And this monster, you want to talk about evil, Netanyahu is one of the most evil men of my lifetime, murdered 15,000 children, but thinks, who cares? They're Palestinians. They're Muslims, they're Christians, their lives don't matter at all. I'll just murder their kids nonstop. And then I'll get these, you want to talk about useful idiots, these schmucks that I purchased with AIPAC, and I'll get them to applaud me.
Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
There hasn't been a shred of evidence proving that. The individual who uttered that nonsense is Avril Haines, who used to work for a consulting firm founded by Anthony Blinken known as West Exec Consultants. The way that they operate allows them to essentially have foreign governments as their clients without having to disclose that. And there is plenty to indicate that one of their foreign clients is Israel. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, why do you think Netanyahu, along with various members of both parties, keep fear-mongering about Iran? Because they're drumming up, they're garnering support for a war with Iran.
The largest donor for Mike Johnson, AIPAC, largest donor for Chuck Schumer, AIPAC, largest donor for Joe Biden, AIPAC, largest donor for Donald Trump to the tune of $200 million, the Adelson family, who said, you must do what Israel wants for foreign policy, and Trump did. He moved our embassy. He literally gave out US foreign policy for checks from Israel, right-wing Israeli supporters here in America. So these guys all, it is inarguable that they serve Israel. So don't come here and tell me, there might be foreign funding for peace protesters who would like to keep America out of the war that you're funding by buying our Congress.
Let's look at the pro-Israel lobby donations to Chuck Schumer. That amounts to more than $1.7 million through the lifetime of his political career. Let's go to the next one. You have Mitch McConnell, nearly $2 million from the pro-Israel lobby to Mitch McConnell. Hakeem Jeffries has taken a healthy sum from the pro-Israel lobby as well, more than $1.5 million. I mean, the list goes on and on. Mike Johnson, as you were referring to, Cenk, has taken nearly $500,000 from the pro-Israel lobby.
Fast-tracking US military aid can dramatically expedite an end to the war in Gaza and help prevent a broader war in the Middle East. In World War II, as Britain fought on the front lines of civilization, Winston Churchill appealed to Americans with these famous words: give us the tools and we'll finish the job. Today, as Israel fights on the front line of civilization, I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster and we'll finish the job faster.
All of these members of Congress standing up and applauding that like trained seals, it disgusts me. What about Netanyahu screams to the American people that he's trying to prevent a broader war in the Middle East? And then he has the audacity, as the leader of a country that had a budget surplus in 2022, to tell the American people, hey, hurry up, you're not giving us enough, okay? You haven't had a budget surplus since 2001. We want more money from you, the US taxpayer, and we want it faster.
The war in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios of combatants to non-combatants casualties in the history of urban warfare.
2/3 of the deaths in Gaza are civilian casualties.
Yeah.
Okay? In fact, the IDF and various members of the Israeli government in various interviews can't even get their numbers straight. You know, sometimes they say, 8,000 Hamas militants were killed. Sometimes they say 10,000 Hamas militants were killed. Sometimes they say 12,000 Hamas militants have been killed. But even if you go with the high number of 12,000, keep in mind that 39,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the start of this war.